Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash, and of course it is my privilege to be your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now you join me on one of my regular pilgrimages to the sartorial capital of elegance for the whole world. And of course I'm in London, capital city of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and one of the most historic cities in the world. As Dr. Johnson famously said, when a man grows tired of London, he grows tired of life. Now today I'm standing right at the junction of St. James's Street and probably my favourite street in the world, Jermyn Street. One might refer to this street as Chap Nirvana in many ways, because it is a street which has a very historic history. And I'll tell you about it as we walk down the street now. So I'm going to flip the camera around and we're going to go on a short point of view walking tour of perhaps my favourite street in the world. I'll tell you about the shops that I love going to, the things that I love seeing, and yeah, let's get going. Okay gentlemen, let us begin our walking tour of Jermyn Street, and just across the road there we see Davidoff Cigars. So if you're a gentleman who enjoys a smoke, this is the place to be. Of course, Jermyn Street is well regarded for being the home of shirt making, and we'll see some as we go along. Emma Wills, just across the street there, is renowned as being one of the newer perhaps shirt makers, but for sure one of the most regarded. Nothing is cheap, of course, in this street. Unfortunately, Jermyn Street is quality, and quality begats cost. So here we go. Here's one of the first shoe shops we'll encounter, Trickers. As you can see, the Royal Warrant up there by appointment to His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, and some fine, almost tripping into the gentleman walking to work, some fine examples of their wares in the window. So let's get going. Let's make some distance down this wonderful street of fantastic wares. On the subject of shoes, Crockett & Jones. One of my personal favourites in shoes, of course. They provide shoes for the last few James Bond films. And when you look inside, you know, you can see that they're quality boutiques. They're little shrines to the excellence. Now, when it comes to probably one of the most famous shops on Jermyn Street, it has to be Turnbull and Asser. Now, Turnbull and Asser has a remarkable history. They've made shirts for most of the James Bonds. Famously, they make the cocktail cuff, which was favoured by Sean Connery in his iteration of James Bond. And we'll just have a quick glance inside. There we go, you can see what it's like in there. This is the home of bespoke shirt making. So this is where they make bespoke shirts. Absolutely glorious products in there. Ties, socks, any accessory that a gentleman will need to make himself look absolutely splendid. And I believe a bespoke shirt will start in the region of about £250 from Turnbull and Asser, but you have to commit to a certain number of shirts in order to secure that price. But ultimately you can have shirts made which are made from thousands of different materials, different cuts, different styles, which will fit you or your body like a glove. So as we walk along, Hilditch & Key, another famous shirt maker from Jermyn Street. Again, very similar to Turnbull and Asser. They will make a bespoke shirt for you, which is absolutely exquisite. And in the window, we see some of their wares on display to tempt the gentleman. Interestingly, Jermyn Street is named after a gentleman called Henry Jermyn, who was the first Earl of St. Albans, who actually made or renovated this part of London just before the Great Fire, in fact, and turned it into what we see today. And just at the entrance here of Piccadilly Arcade, another, theatre of gentlemen's attire, we see a famous statue to Beau Brummell. Now, Beau Brummell is an interesting chap. He's considered to be one of the earliest proponents of gentleman's couture, of sartorial style. Never actually lived in the street or anything like that, but because of his relevance within the men's style world, and with Jermyn Street being the sort of Mecca for men's style, he is commemorated here with a wonderful bronze statue which looks up into Piccadilly Arcade, and up in that arcade we will find many of the most wonderful gentlemen's accessory stores and extremely well-dressed gentlemen coming out and about. So New and Lingwood we see here, absolutely wonderful dressing gowns and accessories. The shops are full at the moment with summer and spring garmentry because it's that time of year for us. And some of the other great accessory stores are in these very places. Okay, I've missed a few across the street. One which we cannot miss is Taylor of Old Bond Street. Anybody who enjoys a wet shave will be familiar with Taylor's of Old Bond Street because I absolutely recommend this place to people all the time. They sell amazing shaving creams, probably the best in the world, regardless of all of these fanciful artisan shaving cream manufacturers. You have to go a long way to find better than Taylor's. Still in family ownership, and it is a classic gentleman's barbers. In fact, in the rear of the store, they still have a functioning barber shop. And if you come to the window, you'll find all the accessories that you need for a gentleman to look his very best, from a toothbrush to shoe cream. In fact, they sell Saphir shoe products here. I have to say, at a much inflated price compared to what you can find it on the internet. But their shaving cream is absolutely fantastic. And the one that I recommend is not on display in the window. It is their tobacco leaf. You will find, well, there's some of the products from the tobacco leaf range, but it is a lovely, strong, vibrant, tobacco-ish flavour. Really smells good. Under £20 when purchased here. So next door to Taylor's of Old Bond Street, Edward Green. Widely regarded as one of the best shoemakers in the world. I think they make bespoke shoes as well as ready-to-wear shoes. And again, you look inside and it is, it's not just a shoe shop, it is a shrine to the magnificence of shoemaking. Very, very well-made stuff. I've never owned any. I would never be able to afford it. Now, as we walk down the street, passing some of the stores, you'll be interested to know some very famous people have lived in Jermyn Street over the years. Not least the Duke of Marlborough, an ancestor and a famous general related to Winston Churchill. And of course, Isaac Newton, one of the most famous residents of this street, the world's foremost physicist and mathematician who left an indelible mark on the way that people think about physics and other such matters. So here we see Alfred Dunhill's famous luxury goods store, and it is begun, of course, by Alfred Dunhill himself when he took over his father's saddlery store many years ago, making leather goods, and became a purveyor of luxury goods as they are today. Nothing cheap in Alfred Dunhill, but very interesting store to pop into, have a look around. What I would say to people when it comes to going into these stores, never be afraid to look inside. They look somewhat intimidating, but the reality is the people in these stores are happy to help. They want to talk to you. If you can go in and talk to them and show an interest in their attire and the products that they make, they will be delighted to tell you about the history and explain more about the products themselves. Okay, I'm pointing the camera now as the traditional London taxis go past at 45 Jermyn Street, which is the bottom floor restaurant, so to speak, of Fortnum and Mason's, the famous food store and fancy goods store in London. They do a great breakfast in there. I had a breakfast in there probably a couple of years ago. It's high end, I'll go as far as to say that when I had breakfast in there, I had, I think, bacon and eggs. And the eggs were from rare breed hens, which had a specific special colour to the yolks. So nothing is ordinary here in Jermyn Street, that is fair to say. So as we walk along through the hustle bustle of a London day, we see Hawes & Curtis on Jermyn Street, which is a shirt maker, and today owned by Tuka Suleiman, I believe, who is famously one of the dragons on Dragon's Den in the UK version of Shark Tank. So if you're unfamiliar with him, he owns that. And yeah, very reasonably priced shirts in there and other gentlemen's sort of formal attire. So, strolling along through life, here we go. What have we got next? Tramp nightclub. Tramp nightclub, famous nightclub for the celebrity culture. Been going, I think, since 1969. Next door to a Loke shoe boutique. Loke, of course, quite reasonably priced shoes compared to some of the shoe boutiques we'll see here. But Tramp nightclub, private members club. You have to be sort of well regarded and well known to join. and make use of their facilities. Hackett's over there, gentleman's clothing shop. And so got your Barker shoes, so good quality stuff. Grenson shoes. So all the shoe shops are represented here. So if you're ever looking to compare and contrast, this is the place to come. John Lobb, maybe the granddaddy of them all, possibly the best, or regarded as the best shoemaker in the world. Bespoke shoes made by John Lobb in London will run to something in excess of £5,000. So top end stuff, worn by royalty and famous people. Floris next door, number 89 Jermyn Street, is the home of Floris. And Floris is the oldest perfumers in the country. It's been running since 1730, still in family ownership. I believe it's in the hands of the 8th and 9th generation of the family these days. So remarkable stuff. And inside it is, again, pure theatre. You look inside and you see these oldie worldy cabinets. The cabinets, I believe, were sourced from the Grand Exhibition, which is something of a famous exhibition which took place here in the UK, I think in the 18th century. And Floris, and I can smell the fragrances emanating from Floris. I'll be popping in there later because I'm very interested in trying out their special number 127 fragrance. I might even buy a bottle today if I get the chance. Crockett & Jones again, another Crockett & Jones shoe boutique, making shoes up there in Northampton. Been to their factory store. Again, remarkable footwear at, well, let's be honest, remarkable prices. So interesting stuff. Okay, here we go. Looking across the road, a very interesting store for Jermyn Street at number 93 is Paxton and Whitfield. It is the oldest cheese shop in the United Kingdom. Free cheese deliveries anywhere in the UK over 30 British pounds. So interesting. The smells emanating from there are somewhat different to the smells coming from Floris just a couple of doors down. So interesting stuff, but fascinating. It's amazing that all of these different things coexist on this wonderful street. Russell and Bromley shoes as well. Harvey and Hudson, gentlemen's outfitters, tailors. As we see, good quality traditional stuff. Made to measure. Tailoring from £1,200, shirting from £275, bespoke kit. Okay, let's have a look around the corner as we look at these wonderful summer collections. And I can hear some shouting. What's going on here then? This is the beauty of London. You never know what's going to be around the corner. And there seems to be some sort of demonstration taking place at the end of the street. Okay, whilst we're out in the sun, we find ourselves outside George F. Trumper's, or GOF Trumper, which is another... Oh, I think it's turning into a riot. It's okay, I can see our good friends from the Metropolitan Police there, we're all good. So George Trumper, of course, another famous gentleman's barbers. There's a barber shop in there. You can have yourself shaved or your hair cut. And again, very high quality gentleman's products. Their shave cream is on a par with Taylor of Old Bond Street. I can see prominently in the window. They have some Eucharist products. Eucharist is one of my all-time favourite shaving fragrances, gentleman's fragrances. A little bit powerful for the summer perhaps, but a wonderful fragrance all the same. Okay, let's get away from that riot before it gets a bit more tasty. Not up for a fight today. Okay, just across the street is Charles Tyrwhitt's. Charles Tyrwhitt, a little bit more of a recent entry into the gentleman's style world, of course. Set up by Nick Wheeler in 1986, going that far back. Sorry, across the road. Charles Tyrwhitt, very reasonable shirts, very good quality shirts at the price point for which they sell them. And this is their flagship store in London. I've got a number of their products myself. Recently purchased a merino blazer in navy blue, which is a fabulous garment actually. It's working out very well for me. But very modestly priced stuff. Very modestly priced stuff. Here we see the police all queuing up waiting to get involved in that little kerfuffle around the corner. Okay, we're coming to the end of most of the good stuff now. Another Hawks and Curtis or Hawes and Curtis branch, as I say, owned by Tuka Suleiman, the retail entrepreneur, multi-millionaire, and he's turned it from a failed shirt making company into a global entity these days. Okay, we're petering out now. We're coming away from the really big names and we're heading into the sort of more average stuff. Aquascutum. Now, Aquascutum was a good quality heritage company which unfortunately went to the wall a little while ago and sadly was unable to remain profitable and closed. And the same goes for TM Lewin, another modestly priced shirt maker, which went from having dozens and dozens of shops on the high street to unfortunately total failure. Okay, let's turn the camera around. Okay folks, welcome back. Nice to see you again. And as I say, I'm walking away from the main guts of it now, but there's still some wonderful products to see here. So Church's shoes behind me, again a shoe which has been seen on the feet of the fictitious, of course, but well-regarded James Bond. Pierce Brosnan, I think, more or less exclusively wore Church's shoes when he was in the role. And there's still a few little places to go as we walk along here. One of my personal favourite shoe stores, and that is Chini. Chini, I've been to their factory up in Northampton. It really impressed me. They make some wonderful shoes at, I would say, very approachable prices. Still in the tailoring world, Sunspell as we walk along. Very interesting. And now we're heading into the sort of main area of London. Regent Street is just up here to our left, which is where it gets a little bit nuts. An interesting thing, which I will finish off with really, is the Jermyn Street Theatre. It's amazing that just this little door in the street between two other buildings is London's smallest West End theatre. Only 70 seats in that theatre behind me, and yet it still attracts all the big names. Sir Michael Gambon and people like that have played in there. Shakespeare plays there. At the moment there's a play called Orlando, which is a Virginia Woolf playing in there. I've never been, but I have to say it would be interesting to see what it's like in there. It's a really traditional old-fashioned place. There we go. So we've reached the end of Jermyn Street. I hope you've enjoyed this walking tour. It's given you an insight, perhaps whetted your appetite for the time when you're next in London, and perhaps you'd like to walk down the street and see some of these wonderful gentlemen's sort of shops selling accessories and shirts. I know for me, I've always thought, if my number ever comes up on that lottery, or long lost Auntie Mabel kicks the bucket in Tasmania and leaves me her fortune, this would be my first stop. Turnbull and Asser to get my shirts made, and some of these other shops here for the beautiful garmentry that they have to offer for the ordinary chap. But never be intimidated. The next time you're in town, walk down this street, look at these shops, go inside, speak to the sales agents, find out about them. The history is remarkable, and it's there for us to see. It's like walking down the world's best sartorial museum. And I'm not even talking about Savile Row, which is just a short hop away too. Maybe that's a different level of financial commitment though. Savile Row, to have a bespoke suit, you really do need to have a lottery win. Whereas if you come down Jermyn Street, you really can pick up some aftershave, you can pick up some shaving cream, you can buy a few shirts, some Charles Turret, you can do lots of good things for your wardrobe here, and it needn't break the bank. So I hope it's been an interesting insight for you today on my field trip to London. It's been great to see you. If you've enjoyed the video, I would encourage you to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget, click the red button if you'd like to subscribe, and you can support the channel by buying us a coffee. Click the link to the Buy Me a Coffee page in the show notes below, and it's those Buy Me a Coffee contributions which have allowed my trip to London to come to life in the purchase of my train ticket. So, until the next time, take care of yourselves, and I will see you again very soon. Okay folks, just a little postscript to the video to let you know that I actually do live the Chap's lifestyle, and yes, I did pop into Floris and I did make a purchase, and I went with the old classic. I get it out actually, if I can, without jiggling the camera too much. I went for the Special 127, which is famously Winston Churchill's favourite aftershave. in the Eau de Toilette. So stand by for a review on this probably most classic citrus-based summer fragrance. Watch out for that one coming soon. A snip at only £80 for a wonderful heritage fragrance for which you can't go wrong in the summertime. So I thought you'd like to know, I can't walk down Jermyn Street without putting my hand in my pocket. So there we go, such is life. This is what we work for, isn't it? To spend it on things we love. Take care now.